This call is being recorded.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Today it's Monday, September the 18th. And can I tell you, Yahweh is wonderful. I know that we're seeing a lot of disaster. We're seeing a lot of floods. We're seeing famine. We're seeing a lot of hungry people. I mean, I know that goes with famine, but we're seeing collapses where we wouldn't normally see them. And there's a bigger process at hand. And those of you guys that don't know, I invite you to learn. I invite you to open your Bibles and read them. Okay? Stop talking to these people. Talk to Yahweh. He's here. He's very personable. And, I want to tell you, I want to put it out there. I have a praise report too. I had another student that reached out to me today or yesterday and let me know that, they were able to discharge their entire mortgage. Did they do it with a 1099-A? No, because that doesn't work. We got a lot of people out there waving that stuff around like it's a free credit card or, like it's a blank check to go get whatever you want, whatever your heart desires. Gosh, we're living in some dangerous times. Okay. When you see stuff like this going on, these are the false messiahs. This is the false salvation that people are talking about. Because they have trees. Oh, do they have trees? They have trees from here to the hilt. They have trees from 11 o'clock in the afternoon till 3 in the morning if you'll wait on the phone with them. Oh, yes, they do have trees, but they have no fruits. They haven't done anything. They haven't pushed the button. They haven't stood in the line of fire. And they haven't taken any real hits. So what qualifies Tim Damron? That's what's coming. I know. I felt that coming from across the room. It's another little gift I have. But I'll tell you about, gosh, it was just too many years ago, but I'm just going to tell you it was a long time ago. And not so long ago, it's just the moment. It's just so traumatic. I really can't remember what year it happened, to be honest with you. But I will tell you that I saw the courts interfere and get into my life where there was no issues. I never came home, beat my wife. I don't have a drinking problem, never did. Don't have a drug problem, got caught with a bunch of cocaine in my car, any stupid stuff like that. Never came home, had any domestic violence, never had any of that stuff. But yet, I was treated just like one of those people. And these courts stepped in and they started moving against me. And the next thing I know, yes, you're a joint managing conservator, but I haven't seen those children in over 15 years. So the kind of thing that does to somebody, well, it depends on what kind of person you are. If you're one of those kind of people that just lays down and accepts it, maybe has a couple weeks, to work it out, go talk to your friends, take a Xanax. If that's your life, then you probably got over it. But that's not my life. My life is it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare that I had to live with every day. It was a nightmare of constantly replaying my court decisions and the things that were going on during these courts and how these people were justified and just making me automatically $20 short to consider to everybody else. Just right off the bat. How did this happen? How did they move and do what they did? So I didn't sit in the corner and I didn't cry about it. I prayed about it. And I sought the wisdom of the most knowledgeable, I don't even want to say thing. I just the most knowledgeable presence you can ever be in. And that's Yahweh's presence. And he gave me peace. But he didn't just give me peace, you guys. He gave me an understanding. Because where there's great humility, there's an opportunity to receive wisdom. As you guys, it's in Proverbs. Read that in Proverbs. It's there. It's all over the place. And here's something else you'll see in Proverbs a lot, because I read it every day, is that when you go through something like this, think about it. When you went through the most traumatic things in your life, when your divorce happened, when your kids moved out, I don't know, man, whatever happened in your life, you did some growing during that time, didn't you? We all do. But see, if we humble ourselves, we can do more than growing. We can have the oversight to see. And Yahweh gave me the vision to see every single thing that those people did to me. I saw it in true color, and I saw how they did it. And then I decided I'm going to take this gift and I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it with these people out here, because I'm not the only victim. I'm not the only one that doesn't know, that has children out there that doesn't know who he is. And I'm not some raging alcoholic, and never have been. Never been a domestic wife beater or anything like that. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have been married. We're going into our 18th year of marriage. So I have a 20-year-old son out there somewhere. His name is Corbin. And I have another one out there, and his name is Caleb. And I have a daughter that's out there. So those are the dues that I paid to know what I know. And so when I hear some carbon copy jump on here, like the David Straight gang or any of these other cuckoo birds, it bothers me. I understand what military people feel like when they see some civilian walking around in their uniform that they didn't pay any dues to get, and they're wearing that uniform. So I understand what that means now. And because I was able to understand that, I got to understand even more things. And then Yahweh started to humble me. And then the enemy said, hey, we're going to step it up and we're going to scare you back into your box. That happens, right? Those of you guys that have grown with me a little bit, you know what I'm talking about. They're going to try to scare you back into your corner. Go put your slave collar back on. Don't think like this anymore. Your friends are crazy. Huh? Yeah. Why? Because you know there's fruit at the end of that tree. But it's your job to make that fruit happen. So those are the dues that I paid. Here's some other dues and personal experiences that I have. And this is why I teach this debt, equity, and foreclosure and credit class. I spent 23 years in the car business. I spent 8 years as a finance manager. I've processed personally probably over 15 to 25,000 deals. Really. Watch them go through, watch them get funded. I know exactly how a car deal gets put together. I know exactly what will cause that car deal to fall apart. And that makes somebody like me pretty dangerous. Because if your bank is doing something they're not supposed to do, you might have some recourse. So this class is all about shifting those things into your favor. It's all about changing your position of where you are. See, as the consumer, we're in just this one little place. We're like pretty much standing at the mailbox waiting for the mail to get here, right? But when you start managing things and you start doing things a little differently, like operating in trust, okay, which is something that I teach. But even on another level, changing your where you are, your persona, what you're doing, puts you in control. This class is going to talk to you about how to handle credit. Now, how did we go from child custody to all this to credit? Equity. That's the common denominator. It's equity. And people are missing it. You got a lot of people running around and they're saying, oh, look at this law. It says this. And look at this law and it says that. And look at the speed limit sign on the freeway and look how many people don't pay attention to it. Or better yet, it's 5 o'clock and nobody's doing the speed limit because they're all driving too slow. Huh? That's equity. Equity is powerful, isn't it? Here's another example of equity. When you get a whole bunch of people in a courtroom and a guy stands up in the movie and he says, let him speak. And it actually works. You're like, dang, it actually worked. How did it work? Because it didn't work when you did it. Why? Because that dude stood up all by himself and did it. That's why. But when you're operating in equity and you've got people behind you, you can move a whole lot of things. And this is what I learned. This is how they took my kids from me. And if my kids are watching this, I love you and I'm so sorry. I really do apologize. We should have been better parents. We really should have been way better parents. I'll take my blame on that one too. I love you guys. And it's real, but you pay your dues. And you've got to pay your dues for this knowledge. Otherwise, you're just a fake carbon copy. Recently, I had a repo man at my house. I did. And you know what they did? They hooked up to a car that didn't belong to them. No, it really didn't belong to them. They didn't have a lien on the car. And that's illegal in this state. That's illegal in most states. You can't go and repossess a car without a court order unless you have a lien on it. And recently I helped a student of ours that was in Georgia, and they had a bank from Texas that filed a case against her after releasing the lien and the title on her car. Here was the problem with that. They didn't own any property to initiate any kind of a claim or lawsuit. Here was another problem with that. In most retail contracts, 99% of most retail contracts, there's an arbitration clause in there. So the fact that they skipped the arbitration clause and went straight to the repo booth or straight to anything else or straight to court, which is what they did, they just breached their contract, didn't they? So all that voodoo magic that they did in court, we filed just the right stuff. And you know what? Grandma's got her title back to her car, and she's back at home. And little Texas Bank had to go back to Texas with an empty sack and an attorney bill that they had to pay too. Now that's how these things are supposed to work. Why? Because we're operating in equity. So what does it really mean when we operate in equity? A lot of people really struggle with this. And they really have a hard time with this. But let me break it down again. Let me give you another scenario about equity. So a lot of people associate equity with their homes. Oh, I have $100,000 of equity in my house. What does that really mean? Is there a credit card underneath the foundation that just came due? No, that's not what that means. Did the interest rates get better? Nope, they definitely haven't done that either. We know that they just climb, whenever it's convenient. So what happened? They moved in equity. And by moving in equity, you're getting the other people to accept it. So what happens is the potential buyers that would buy your house based on what your home is worth, and your home is worth based on a real estate analysis that they do. Now, how do I know anything about this? Well, my parents were realtors, and I used to have to go to work with them all the time. So I learned all this real estate stuff too. Yeah. And they're lying to everybody. I love it when one of these guys that said, you can own your own home. And I was like, but you can't own the property. You can own the home, but unfortunately, it's kind of stuck to the property. And if you try to separate the two, it's contractually interlocked. And so what you're doing is you're paying rent just at a discount. And you're just paying it to the county. And that's all we're doing in America when we're buying houses. I said that yesterday or today to an ad on one of these LGI home groups. And some cuckoo bird on there tells me, he goes, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Is it? So I asked him, I said, how did they loan you $200? How are they going to loan anybody $450,000 on a house when FDIC only insures their deposits, up to $250,000? What are they going to give you, an uninsured loan? I don't think so. No. They're going to insure that loan like there's nobody's business. Has anybody seen that picture of mine that I posted on Facebook about the lambs and all the wolves that are pulling the lambs apart? To me, that's what I see when I see somebody going through closing. And I've actually watched closings happen. And let me tell you what's really funny about closings. Nobody ever opens anything. You ever notice that? Oh, we've got to close on the 15th. Well, who opened it? And what did they open exactly? And why does it cost so much money to close something that nobody even opened? Do you see how they're talking to us? They're talking to us like we're stupid. And you know what? We are. And I don't think stupid is a good word. I think stupid is derogatory. I think uninformed is a better word. And we're missing it because we're not putting the dots together. We're not getting this. Right now in America, it's cheaper to buy, it's cheaper to rent. It's cheaper to rent a house in America right now than it is to buy a house in America. So I'll give you an example. The house I live in right now, if I were to buy this home, if I purchased this home, not only would I have to pay for everything that goes wrong here, by the way, because it just had a new roof, like 20 grand. So not only all that, but I would have to pay about $3,500 a month to live in this house. If I rented, if I purchased this house today in today's market. I've lived in this house for 4 years, paid my rent faithfully. My landlords are super duper great people. I pay $1,350 a month. It makes no sense to purchase a house. And I'm going to tell you, rents in Texas are dropping. And we're starting to see some changes. And this is people pushing back on the banks because the banks are hurting. They're trying to buy everything. Right now, they're trying to get everything to perform at its absolute maximum because we're about to go through some changes. We're about to go through some major changes. Those of you guys that have taken the UCC class, UCC and trust class, and you've gotten your indemnity bonds filed and done, you have nothing to worry about at the end of this month. Those of you that did not, better get your prayer language in order because you're going to need it. I'm serious. We're going to go through a change. And it's just the sins of our fathers, man. It's the sins of everybody. You know, recently my wife was telling me that, you know, it's come out that, you know, Abraham Lincoln wasn't all that honest, actually. He was kind of a dirty old man. He's kind of doing some inappropriate things, gay things. And we have a history of leaders, elected leaders that run this country and lead these kinds of lives. And when you live this way, you're reaping, you're sowing things into your life when you live this way. Because at some point, those things are going to come to fruition, and that's what we're paying for right now. But anyway, let me get off of that. I want to talk a little bit more about this debt and foreclosure classes coming up because that is kind of depressing. But the debt and foreclosure class is coming up. Now, with the change in money, if we have a change in money, we're going to have to be doing some serious contracting out there, everybody. Why? Because they're going to have to recontract with you. All of your loans, credit cards, everything else, they're going to have to accept new forms of payment. If they close the dollar out, that makes every contract we have void. You know that? Because there's nothing to pay it with. So we need to be smart, not running around panicking, going, oh, what's going to happen? You know what? Don't worry about what's going to happen. We have a choice. We can act or we can react. And I'm telling you, we need to think and then we need to act. We can react when it's all done and we can all high five in the corner. What we need to do is pay attention. Watch what's going on. I love what the David Strait group says. David Strait says that we need to go and take all of our money out of the banks, go stick them in the mattress. Oh yeah, that'll do a whole lot of good. Jeez. Yeah. I mean, because, you know, it'll be so valuable and all. You know, I've seen videos where they're dumping our money in the streets right now in certain countries where they had exchange, where they do exchange, money exchange stuff and stuff like that, like in India. And they literally just throwing our money out in the street. They're done with it. They're not using it anymore. That's it. It's off. It's garbage now. And that I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime. I never thought I would see the land of the great money just thrown on a foreign country's ground like that, just thrown away, thrown into the trash. And people are running around picking it up, but it's no good there. So what does that mean? We better learn how to contract, you guys. One of the things that I teach in my class is equity. And it's because we have to learn how to contract. Have you ever noticed that a lot of these people, when they go into court, you know, these guys that are talking all this stuff, they don't get anything done. And they think because they made a point about something, oh, we got one home now. Yes, that's what we did. We made a stand. That's a good job. You didn't do nothing. You're still going to jail. David still got warrants out for his arrest. It doesn't matter. None of that voodoo magic stuff works. But here's what does work. When you walk in with the endorsement of the Lord of hosts, the King of kings, and I'm not talking about Jesus. I'm talking about Adonai. I'm talking about Yahweh. I'm talking about the first and the last. You're going to get me going here in a minute. I'm telling you, I'm talking about that one. And when you show up with him, you're going to win every time. I know everybody's like, oh, he's not going to show up for me. Tell the truth. Well, I told the truth once. No. Learn how to tell the truth in contracts. Learn how to tell the truth. You ever notice when you're in court, when you're standing in front of the judge, you get that real shivery, cold feeling, and you just want to say uncle and just pay the guy and get the flip out of there? Like, nah, I don't want none of this. You ever notice that? You know why that happens? Because you're in front of pure evil. I'm going to say that one more time. Because you're standing in front of pure evil. And they're watching you. Because they're trying to steal from you. We see this in ticket court every day. I helped somebody with a ticket this week. I wrote her a speeding ticket. But she didn't hit anybody. Well, then how can you really say that she was speeding? Well, she was driving too fast. Driving too fast and speeding are two different things. Speeding is an infraction. Driving too fast is a privilege sometimes. Sometimes we're allowed to do that. Anyway, he wrote her a pretty big cheeseball ticket. But they couldn't prove their case. And they can't prove their case. So what do? They use knowledge. They use intimidation. They bring people into the courtroom in the middle of summertime with long sleeve shirts. You ever notice that? The cops that show up in the courtroom, they'll come in with some long sleeve shirts all the way down. And then they got like all their little how many years in service, like all the way up. And then they've got like enough, and they've got like 5 banana clips in the front for their pistol, like they're about to go to Grenada or something. Those are intimidation things that they do. They're trying to scare you, man. And this is a game of witchcraft that's played. I lost my kids not because I wasn't a good parent. I lost my kids because these people played a game of witchcraft on me that I wasn't equipped to handle. I wasn't walking with Yahweh like I am now. I didn't know who he was. I still thought he was Jesus. I still thought the other guy was God. It's not. Because every time I call out to those two names, nothing happens. You start calling out to Yahweh, I'll tell you what, you'll see cars moved in front of your house. You'll see all kinds of things happen. You'll see the world stop on a dime for you. That's how much he loves you. It is. And since I've woken up to this process, I usually get a front parking space just about everywhere I go. Really crazy, but I love it. You know what? And I'll take this ride as long as Yahweh wants to do it. Look, to understand this process, you've got to understand the players that are at hand. So what they're doing is they're using some things that I'll be talking about in class, but they're using presentments to con you, you know? And they're doing this, and then they use a lot of psychological warfare on us individuals. Why would they do that? Well, because they hire military people. And these military people take all this war stuff and they decide to dress up and put their little Batman costumes on and go to war with the public. And that's not okay. It needs to stop. But this is a game of pure evil versus good. And when you walk in with truth, you're going to win every time. We get a lot of folks that walk in with a whole lot of pride and a whole lot of attitude and a whole lot of put your feet up on the chair and act like a bozo in court, like you own the place. Talk crazy to people. That's not going to get anything done. It gets nothing done. As a matter of fact, it makes you look like an a-hole. It really does. And I hope that wasn't too rough for anybody. I'm trying to keep it cool, but it does. And you're just going to aggravate people. So how do we do this? How do we beat this game? How is it done? Do we call the 1-800 I'm pissed off number? I had a student this week and he says, and matter of fact, Tyler's on right now. It's about Tyler. And Tyler sent me a question this week and I'm going to answer it for him. But he said that, you know, I'm calling the Secretary of State and I'm asking him questions. There's your first problem right there. That which is private, and that which is public is public. Those people are not going to talk about private stuff over the phone. They are not going to tell you how to finish anything. You've got to show up, be ready to play, and get it done. Now, if you need, a lot of times they will hang people up on the whole transmitting utility box. If that happens, those of you filing your UCCs, then I would recommend that you put that information in the collateral description and then don't check the box. Just simple bibble. Another thing that people are really screwing up on is that they're sending half packages. They're not sending all their, I don't want to go into it because I don't want to talk about our paperwork over the air, but they're just not sending all the paperwork in properly. So if any of you guys that have taken any of these classes, if you're having trouble with it, you know, send me a quick email, or in your case, I will, Tyler, I will get with you probably tomorrow. I'll give you a call and I'll talk it through and we'll go through the rest of it. I'll help you out with it. But yeah, it's a real tricky deal. And that's what people don't understand. And I think people not really understand is people really struggle with it, is that once you leave the public, once you start operating privately in your trust, okay, and you're not working for anything in the public, you're simply just taking care of your trust. You're administering your trust. While you've got that hat on, the public does not want to help you, and they will not help you. They will not help you at all because they don't want to, and there's no benefit for them to do it. Hey, Dominic, how you doing, brother? Glad you're here. And you know what? And actually, I'm really glad he's here. My best friend in the whole world, Dominic, just showed up on. And me and this guy, man, we woke up together. We woke up in 2015 together, and we were looking at our lives, and we saw how we were shortchanged. We saw how things were not the same for us as they were for everybody else. I'm going to be talking to you guys about the credit report. You know, your credit reports, they're not even, Steven, and fair. They control the demographic. I heard an officer say this the other day at a court thing on court. He was saying that he understood the street's demographic. What does that mean? Well, what he really said was he understands what kind of people are living around there. Kind of a racist thing to say, really. But that's what he said. So what does that mean? That means that when you got your first report card, when the first time you saw your name in all upper caps, officially, somewhere, okay, you were being sorted. That's right. You remember those little ink blot tests they used to do back in school? What do you see? Swishy stuff. I don't know. Huh? Yeah. You remember those? You were being sorted. They were determining what kind of work you were going to do. And the proof of that is this, is that we have people even here in San Antonio. You guys are familiar with Common Core? A lot of you guys are. Terrible, 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 terrible system. Why is it so terrible? I think it's terrible because it does not teach the students how to solve the problem. It teaches the students how to listen or ask for someone else to show them how to fix the problem. And that's called servitude. That's handicapping somebody. And here in lovely San Antonio, Common Core is taught only on the low income part of town, the west side of town, here in San Antonio. Everywhere else, it's regular. So what does that tell you? They're turning those guys into painters out there. That's what they're doing. What happens if that's not you? What happens if up here you're different? You're not like everybody else. You see things that they don't see. Then you figured out the game. Then you figured it out. If you come to that point in your life, then you figured it out. You figured it out that these guys are doing something that you didn't know that they were doing. And they're doing it on every transaction. Did you know that when you go to the bank and you ask for a less cash, and you know how they're just happy to fill that thing out for you? Like, hey, you sure you don't need any cash back? I mean, dude, they'll go dig that check out from 3 days ago and pull it back up just to fill out one of those. You ever notice that? It's true. Why? Because the minute you sign that, and by equity, that instrument, it becomes an instrument. Why does it become an instrument? Because they acted as such. You filled it out, you signed it, they exchanged. That's equity. The people acted as such. Why do you think when cops pull you over, they always say, hey, you know how fast you were driving? What are they doing? They're trying to contract with you. No, they're not trying to contract with you. What they're trying to do is set up the game of equity. Oh, there's a check. I smell alcohol. Check. There's another check. Then I see something else and something else. Now we can shoot him in the street and kill him dead. Let's do it. Call for backup. They're on it. Forget solving any crimes. We'll just create one right here. Boom, 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 boom. And how do they do it? Equity. So in this class, I'm going to teach you how to operate in equity. I'm going to teach you how to operate through our common law courts. And it doesn't mean you walk into the magistrate court. I hate even talking about this because it's so dumb. But anyway, people think they'll say that, and they'll say, "Oh, our common law courts are in the small claims court." Nope, they're not. Judge Judy has nothing to do with common law court. Now, do they observe common law? Dude, everybody observes common law. Everybody observes common law. You know why? It's the superior jurisdiction that nobody talks about. I'm going to say that again. It's the superior jurisdiction that nobody talks about. In this class that I've got coming up on the 19th and 20th, you should jump in on it. You guys should jump in on it. I'm going to teach you guys how to watch your mailbox. And I'm going to teach you how to make money doing it. I'm going to teach you how to go through your contracts and verify them. And what does that mean, verify them? That means to make sure everybody's got all the things they're supposed to have in order to do what they're doing. We're going to talk about the security agreement. What is a security agreement exactly? Is it just a fancy word for a promise to pay? Can be. But what are the components of a security agreement? What makes a security agreement valid? What makes a security agreement invalid? We're going to be talking about it in this class. And let me tell you, we got a lot of problems in this country. We got a lot of bad banking practices that go on in this country. We got a lot of fraud that goes on in this country. For so many people that are out there saying that they're going to get into their Cessa QV trust, let me tell you something. If it was that easy to get in there, they would have already robbed us all. That's straight up truth. But the reality is we have a non-governmental agency. It's called the Department of Treasury. And they're watching guard. And they're standing guard over this stuff. And they're not funding everything that comes through the door. We're going to be talking about, speaking of that, we're going to be talking about discharge. When you hear the word discharge, you know what that means? Somebody went to the Treasury and got paid. Think about last time you heard discharge. Was it the hospital? Coding and billing, you ever heard of that? Coding and billing allows them to go down there and they get all of your care all coded out in a little box. And then they have to submit it at a certain price interval. You ever notice that they never have like a menu board up there? This is how much it costs to have a heart attack today. You ever notice that? Because it doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter to them. And why doesn't it matter to them? Because they're going to go downstairs in the basement and they're going to discharge you and they're going to get paid. This is why hospitals are not supposed to turn anybody away. They're not supposed to. Because they can still get paid either way. Yeah. Did you know that? And it's because that's how they're doing it. Let's talk about another area of discharge. Was it, you heard when little Johnny out there discharged his probation, right? What happened? Well, he was on probation. There was an order from the judge that said he had to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he had to do it through so many years or so many months or whatever the criteria was. And then what happened after it discharged? What happened? Well, obviously the probation's over. He completed it. So by completing it, that's equity. The people are acting as such. Just like when they're going to go buy your house for 100 grand more this year. Why? Because the market says they can. Equity. This class, I'm going to teach you how to operate in equity. I'm going to teach you how to operate how these guys operate. And then when they don't do the right thing, I'll show you how to enforce everything that you're doing. The second day of this class, we're going to go to court. That's right. I'm going to show you how all this paperwork interfaced with the local courts here. What happened? What did they do? How did it work out for Tim Damrock? That's what this class is going to be about. This class is going to be about managing you, managing your estate, managing your home just a little bit better, maybe. And if we just do that, we're going to be in a much better position. Those of you guys that, have been looking around, we may see 50-to-1 inflation in this country. It's very possible. And I say that because I think that we're going to see something because Texas passed a law on September the 1st, just 17 days ago, and stated that, well, they didn't state that, but they stated that the first $100,000 of everybody's houses here is not going to be taxable anymore. So now that if you live in a $275,000 house, you're only going to get taxed on $175,000. Well, that sounds like a great idea, right? Well, that's going to mess up home values and it's going to turn this thing all kind of crazy. Because what happens is that these little bloodsuckers still got to get in there and get their little money. Remember, I talked to you about that mystery stuff that they're doing. They keep opening up things and closing them, and they got to have all these people there to close them. And nobody ever sees anything open. It's true. And it's because they're not really telling you what's going on. And you're not really understanding what's going on. People that go in and buy homes these days are so busy and focused on having the kitchen of their dreams, they don't care what it costs. And this is why we're in trouble. This is why our housing market is in trouble. This is why it's breaking at the seams right now. This is why we're going to see builders go up again. We're going to see them go under. Hey, brother, how are you? Glad you're here. We're going to see these guys go under. We're going to see that. It's going to happen. So don't get all freaked out. Just be ready for it. We need a plan for it. We need to understand what's going on. Once upon a time, there was a really smart guy that I knew, and his name was Tommy Hopkins. Anybody ever heard of this guy? You should Google him. He was a real estate guru and I told you I grew up with a bunch of realtors. He was a real estate guru and he was a motivator. He would teach people how to sell. And he had a really remarkable story. He started his career trying to sell real estate just out of high school with a piece of crap car. And couldn't afford a suit. And all he had was a band uniform, marching band uniform. all polyester. Those of you guys that have ever worn one of those, oh, that is a heat suit. Trust me. And this is how he got his start. He started going through it, but this is how he really got his start. He learned to overcome the objections. And if we learn to do that, we can operate our trust privately, and we can stay out of this other matrix. I'm not saying that you need to permanently stay out of it, but at least you can be busy doing other things and still be being productive and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the point of this entire call. So we do this as a public service. We do this to help people, and the cost for the class, it's $475. But all the benefits go to the House of Yah community outreach. Those of you guys that are in the San Antonio area, I encourage you guys to look up our affiliate. Actually, there's just some folks that we really help out a lot. We believe in their program, believe in what they're doing. We don't see eye to eye on religion all the time, but we do see eye to eye for a purpose. And their purpose is to rehabilitate these young men and women that have been compromised with drugs and alcohol. And I got to tell you, I have seen some amazing stories. I've seen people, man, the last gala that we went to, which was last year, and it's October the 12th, by the way. Look them up. They're here in San Antonio, Teen Challenge of San Antonio. Please look them up. And if you have an opportunity or if it's in your heart to donate to them, please do it. These guys are doing an amazing work, and they're doing such an amazing work. We donate to them. So nonprofits always help all other nonprofits out. That's what we do. And, these guys have really, really turned the tide on this drug war. They're really got a really good sound program there that isolates them. And when you can isolate yourself into a program to where it's just you and the creator, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And I'll tell you, I've seen some real miracles happen last year. I mean, we just saw people that checked into the program and they didn't look like they had 10 minutes left in them. But shoot, we saw them 13 months later and these people were alive and all the switches were firing. You could see it in their eyes. They weren't giving up anymore. These people were winning. And we got to win too. The consumers need to win too. So this debt and foreclosure class is all about that. It's all about setting yourself up in a position to where you will not be victimized. I get people in Texas all the time that'll tell me stories about their bank accounts going negative or their loan not operating correctly or them overcharging you for so many months and things like that. These things should not be happening without some kind of recourse. These are breaches of your contract when they do these things. So we have to take care of these things properly. We have to be very, very careful. There's a lot of folks out there that are teaching this process and they're telling people to do X, Y, and Z, and then that's it. There's no more of that. And when I say that there's no more of that, it means that there's just dishonor after that. And that's not how this game is played. This game is played by staying in honor. By staying in honor, you bring Yahweh to the table. And what I can tell you about the truth is this. No matter what direction you look at the truth, it's still the truth. When you have someone that's lying to you, that truth only looks good from one or two perspectives, maybe three, maybe four, but it doesn't look good from all of the perspectives. And it's our job to go through those and make sure that we do those things. Because if we don't, we're shortchanging ourselves. We really are. We got people out, and I'm going to tell you, I paid gobbles of interest on vehicles for no reason. For no reason. And here's what happens when you get good at that. They leave you there. They leave you in that credit bracket. And they lie to you and they tell you, oh, you'll get to this other. Not when you're paying so good at 19%. No, we're not. We're going to leave you right there. And they'll automatically approve you on anything and make you feel special. Did I tell you? Yahweh controls everything. That's what we're missing in this game. We're thinking that these guys hold the keys. And sometimes they do. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they can just go do whatever they want. Yahweh is what you take into the room with you. You take absolute truth into the room with you. You'll win every time. And since Dominic is on the call, I'm going to pick on him a little bit. My buddy Dominic, he's called me and had all kinds, he's my best friend. And we talk about stuff all the time. And he'll tell me about stuff going on at work and people trying to do stupid stuff to him and this and that. And, and he's kind of a controversial guy sometimes because he'll stand up and he'll tell you straight to your face, this is what time it is. And won't flinch an eye. Don't care. I mean, he's just that kind of guy. And those of you guys that have taken my travel class, he's the superstar that's in the video that I always post you guys with on the Freedom page. He's like the stone cold killer. I mean, he's just on it, man. And he's just a real for real kind of dude. And that rubs people the wrong way. And because of that, it's caused issues. It's caused other people to try to get rid of him and things like that. And you know what keeps him in play? You know what keeps him in control? His integrity and his honesty. Because as soon as anybody does anything to come to this man, his background, his integrity, his longevity, and all the extra stuff that he does, it all shines through. And that's bringing Yahweh with you. That's bringing absolute truth to the table. I'm going to show you how to do that with your contracts. I'm going to show you how to call a pig a pickle real fast. And what I mean is that if these people are not acting right, you can call them out on their stuff and it won't void your contracts. There's a lot of these guys that'll tell them to fill out these the little coupon things. You guys remember those? I'm sure Dominic remembers those. Remember they were telling us to fill out those little coupons and send them in on your payment coupon? And then you send it to the CFO and then you send it, registered mail, right? Yeah. They send it registered mail. And by the time it gets there, it's going to be 90 days because they had to stop at every post office on the way from here to Canada or wherever you sent it to. I know we went through this. Me and Dominic went through all this stuff before. We know. And then what happens is then you're 3 months in dishonor after that. Let me tell you about UCC 3.311. We're going to be talking a lot about this. This is, and if you look that up, that's called use as satisfaction, accord and satisfaction by use of an instrument. Sorry, it took me for a minute to get that out. And that's what that means. And what happens is that they can actually return that back to you in 90 days. And then you're 90 days delinquent. And now they can just come and take your stuff. So maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a better way. Because what I find in a lot of these people that are out there, these professionals that are out there, is that they're telling half the story. It's almost like they're trying to punk you guys. And I got to tell you, man, back in 2015, that's exactly how I felt. I listened to all kinds of people. Winston Shroud. I listened to what was that? Bruce Doucette. He was hot tamales. He was all over the place, and he's in prison right now. And various other teachers that are dead now, penniless. No fruits, man. Let me tell you something. If your tree's not bearing good fruit, Yahweh will cut it down and throw you into the fire. There's a desire for you to be fruitful. There's a mechanism that your Creator put within you for you to be fruitful, because you were not built for your purpose. You were built for His purpose. That's right. And that's real. Now I'm preaching. And in closing, I got to tell you, we're missing that in America. Everybody's complaining and we're singing all these songs. I'm selling my soul because I only know 3 stupid chords. And that guy just whines and whines and whines, right? Solving nothing. Yes, it actually, Lisa, this could help with child support. Actually, this class will help with child support. If that's somebody that is going through some child support issues, absolutely. Absolutely. Number one rule in child support, put your kids on private insurance. Yeah, that's a good place to start. Put your kids on private insurance and then come jump in this class because you'll learn some things and I'll show you how to maneuver out of those sharky waters and you can get yourself right up out of there. It's no place to be. But in closing, I just want to tell you, well, I was a little distracted there, but I want to tell you that Yahweh has a purpose for you. He built you for a reason. He built you to serve his purpose. And until you learn to serve his purpose, you're going to fail in your lives. You're going to fail in your personal lives. You're going to fail financially. We got to get this first part handled. And that comes through humility. It comes through gaining wisdom. It comes through searching for it and wanting it. I'm going to tell you, that was me. It still is me today. And I have many fruits, many stories, many successes that I'm going to share with you in this class. If you guys are interested in taking this class, please go to our website, houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com. I'm going to post it here on Facebook. And schedule an appointment with me. Okay, we've got tomorrow. We can still sign up tomorrow. Or if you guys wanted to, actually, I'll be at the office all day. If you guys just want to call in the office all day tomorrow or anytime tomorrow for an interview, we can definitely do that. And that's what we want to do. Thank you, Amy. Amy was saying, Yepper, you helped us all out. And that's what we want to do. I want to help everybody out. I have a desire to bring you guys together and to bring these people to bring us together because we're it. I don't know what everybody else is doing tonight with cheeseburgers, but we may have some problems with that. And I'm going to leave it at that. So you all be super blessed in all that you do. May Yahweh bless your day, bless your homes. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Christine Hansen, I will be looking for your friend request. Thank you for sending me one. Please send me another one if this one failed for some reason, or send me a message. I'd be happy to respond to you. And so just send me an instant message, and we can figure it out that way. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I get to meet somebody tomorrow. And I hope that you all have a beautiful evening. May Yahweh bless your homes, bless all that you're doing. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. Good night, everybody.